Hello, friends. The summer is here. You'd be fooled if you looked out the window, but the summer is definitely here, which means Ipswich Town Talk is back for the summer run, and it's going to be a summer like no other. So every week we're going to get on the camera, talk about everything that's going on Ipswich Town transfer-wise, try and separate a bit of the fact from the fiction for you. Mark Heath here with Andy Warren and Stuart Watson. And boys, let's start with the sexy stuff. The ins, of course. We know there's going to be a lot of ins at Ipswich Town this summer as Paul Cook looks to rebuild his squad. And in terms of the first solid link, Stewie, you broke a story on Sunday. Sonny Bradley, Luton Town skipper, centre back, 6'5". We understand he might very well be on the way to Portman Road. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I can't add too much more than that story at the start of the week, other than to say that Ipswich Town are very much the front runners to get that deal done. He's out of contract at Luton Town. His central defensive partner from last season, Matty Pearson, has already signed for Championship rivals Huddersfield. Sonny Bradley was the captain, 6'5", you mentioned, 29, so prime age for a centre-half, played most of their games. Luton finished 12th in the Championship. So for Ipswich to get that deal done, which I believe they will do, would be something of a coup, really, and could set the wheels in motion for some other signings of a similar stature to follow, hopefully.
Yeah, Andy, if they can get that across the line, that's a real statement of intent, isn't it, as a first Paul Cook summer signing?
Yeah, it's the kind of signing I think they should be making as well. Players clearly he can perform in the Championship. That's where Ipswich aspire to be. Not necessarily the flashy signing. I don't think they need to go around making flashy signings. He's not a name. You don't need to go out and sign names. Sign players that can get you where you want to go and hold their own when they get there. I think it would be a great signing if they can get that done. And it sounds like there'd be a great deal of surprise kind of in football circles if Ipswich can get it done, because he has had interest from elsewhere in the Championship. I think it's Preston in particular. MLS has been an option for him, supposedly. So if Ipswich can get this one done, it would surprise a few in football and like you've both said, make something of a statement in what's going to be it should be a statement summer for Ipswich Town, really.
Okay, so that's something we understand is very much on the cards in terms of ins. You mentioned names there, Hutchie. A couple of names linked through transfer rumours to town this week. Eisa, Stewie. Peterborough chairman Darren McAnthony seems to want to move him on, and he's saying he'd be a great signing for Ipswich Town. What do you reckon?
Yeah, this is a bit of a sales pitch from Darren. I think they're trying to offload him. Peterborough haven't got too many of these type of signings wrong, certainly when it comes to strikers, but Eisa hasn't worked out for them. He was a club record signing for, I think, 1.25 million from Bristol City. Started off like a train in League One, scored 15 goals before Christmas in his first season, but has found game time really limited since then. And that is because of the form of first Ivan Toney, and then latterly this season, Johnson Clark-Harris, and Peterborough have gone to one up front. Both of those two have had that central striker role nailed down. And Eisa, a bit like Caden Jackson, has kind of got this tag of someone who does his best work in a front two. So that will immediately set Ipswich ears, or prick Ipswich ears in terms of knowing that Paul Cook has made it pretty clear he's going to play with one up front next season. So Darren McAnthony's trying to offload a player who's still got a couple of years left on his contract. They've got promoted to the Championship, of course, and he's trying to say that he would be a good fit for League One clubs like Ipswich, Charlton. Who else did he name check in there? I'm trying to remember.
Sunderland were in there, weren't they?
Yeah. Basically everyone.
MK Dons, I think, had a little look at him in January, but were put off by the price. I know back in January they were punting him around the division, and they're obviously doing the same again there. Not convinced he'll be the right fit for Ipswich this summer, personally.
And someone else who looks like it isn't going to be the right fit, Jordan Rhodes, formerly of this parish, famously sold early by former boss Roy Keane. Reports today he's on the verge of signing for Huddersfield, who have pipped, in quote marks, Ipswich Town to his signature. Hutchie, what do you make of this one?
I'll be honest, it never enthused me greatly. Clearly he's got a good goal scoring history, but it's a fair way back in history, that goal scoring form. I just don't think he fits the Paul Cook intensity that's required. He's a bit of a player that only comes alive in the penalty area and relies on service, which isn't a bad thing. It's clearly worked for him in the past. He's scored a lot of goals that way. There was a spell where almost every shot he hit ended up in the back of the net. But in terms of the playing intensity and the pressing and the high energy, I'm not sure a Paul Cook team would necessarily benefit from having that kind of striker in it. And I'm not, if this story ends up being correct, I'm not surprised at all that he's decided to stay in the Championship. He's got some personal Championship milestones I think he wants to hit. He's not far off 100 goals for Huddersfield. I think he'd quite like to reach that by the sounds of things. So that wouldn't really surprise me if that ends up not happening. It might mean that we get a transfer window where Jordan Rhodes isn't linked for a move to Ipswich come January time,
which would be unusual. In terms of rounding up the ins, the other rumour this week was Alex Hunt, a young midfielder from Sheffield Wednesday. Stewie, for you, is that any mileage in that?
I think they've taken the 1 year extension option on him, haven't they, Andy? So...
Yeah, that was a classic case of a player being linked with a number of clubs and ultimately staying and getting the contract extension that he wanted. I think.
Okay, there you go. He won't be coming to Ipswich Town then. Just generally, boys, as we approach this summer, we're going to do this every week, and we've spoken a lot about this. Clearly, there's going to be a huge amount of activity at Portman Road this summer. But you're understanding that the targets that Town have, starting, of course, with Sonny Bradley, are ambitious.
Yeah, and I can't really add much more than that at this moment in time, but we talked about Sonny Bradley being a Championship mid-table captain, dropping down to League One. They have asked about Jordan Rhodes. I think that was a kind of... They've always asked the question about Jordan Rhodes in every window. Martin Waghorn is someone they've asked the question about out of contract at Derby. That is the type of level of player that Ipswich are looking at this season, recruiting Championship standard players for a proper League One promotion push under the new owners, who have not been shy in saying that Paul Cook will be backed by significant funds. He will be given the capital to get them back into the Championship. No one's hiding away from that. It's a tricky one because you don't want to let your rivals know that that you're flush with cash, and that can make negotiations difficult. But yeah, I'll be interested to see the first one or two through the door, because I think if you can get one or two done early, then that will help throughout the rest of the window.
And we said, obviously, plenty of ins. With plenty of ins come plenty of outs as well. Now, we know Paul Cook has told pretty much the whole squad they can go, including, of course, Luke Chambers has been told he won't return, the iconic Town skipper of the last 9 years. And Hutchie, he's going to attract a lot of interest in League One. He's already been linked, obviously, to League Two Colchester, but we know there's interest as well in League One. And you wrote a story this week saying he's interested in Gillingham.
Yep. I think he's capable of playing at League One level. I think he would like to keep playing at League One level. I would say he's got a good couple of seasons left in him there. Gillingham are quite keen by all accounts, not just on him, but on a number of Ipswich players. I think he'd actually be quite a good fit for Gillingham. They're in an interesting position this summer where like Ipswich, so many of their players have moved on. They're likely to have bids from higher up the pyramid for their centre-back, Jack Tucker. I think Nottingham Forest maybe are looking at him. Same with midfielder Kyle Dempsey. So they're in a rebuild mode as well. I think getting an experienced Championship League One campaigner like Chambers would be a really good fit for Steve Evans. It's not just him. Alan Judge is one that they also like. I think he could fit what they do as well. They looked into they wanted to sign James Wilson. I'm sure we'll get onto him in a minute. He's gone to Plymouth, and there are others too. I think Thomas Holy would be a potential option. They've lost their goalkeeper Jack Bonham this summer, so Thomas Holy going back to Gillingham is another one. Ollie Hawkins, another. I think at least one former Ipswich player will end up at Gillingham this summer. I think it could well be Luke Chambers.
And Stu,
that'd be nice to get the Luke Chambers reunion will be good. That will give us another little subplot next season. I can see him fitting in quite well under Steve Evans and his assistant Rayner barking away on the touchline throughout the game, and Chambers being quite fired up by that. He likes to have a word in the referee's ear himself during the game. So I know Luke wants to play as high as he can. We've talked about potentially Chambers and Scoos and Freddie Sears all sort of going together again at Colchester, but they'll want to play as high as they can. Certainly Luke Chambers. It's a bit different with Cole because he's had injuries this season, but I'm sure Luke would take that option at Gillingham if over Colchester, because you could still live locally and commute to Gillingham if you wanted to as well. So I'd be interested to see Luke Chambers against Ipswich Town next season, whether it will be the respectful sort of applauding of the Ipswich fans and a non-celebration if he scored, or whether he'd go completely the other way, feeling a bit disappointed with how things ended and maybe giving a fist pump to the Gillingham fans instead. That will intrigue me how that all pans out.
Yeah, we shall see. Very interesting indeed. Someone else who's departed Ipswich Town this summer, James Wilson. Andy, you alluded to it there, has already got a new club, Ipswich Town's Player of the Year, of course. And he's signed for Plymouth Argyle. Their boss, Ryan Lowe, saying he was their number one priority to sign in the summer, and they've got their man.
Yeah, he's not. I don't think they're the only club that saw him as a potential number one priority. Plymouth was always going to be the destination. A good 2-year contract there on similar money to what he's on here at Ipswich. Gillingham were kind of late to that party, trying to get a deal done there. Bristol Rovers were keen. He's obviously lived in Bristol before when he was at Bristol City. Fleetwood as well. He had some options, but I think Plymouth and working with Ryan Lowe was one that he always fancied taking. It's a good club, Plymouth. I've always enjoyed going there. They're a big club with big fan base, so I can see why that would be attractive to a player like James.
Okay, there you go then. That's brought you up to speed. That's the Ipswich Town transfer situation as we understand it. We'll be doing one of these every Friday, so make sure you catch them every week, trying to separate the fact from the fiction. Until next time, we'll see you again.